All right. What's up, Blueprint family? How y'all doing tonight? Thank you all for joining us on this Wednesday night, hump day. We're in the middle of the week, 2 more days, and it is the weekend. Welcome. And tonight's topic is how to avoid the 7 biggest marriage killers.
Sorry, we're a little late. I do want to say that. I always hate when we aren't able to make it on time, but y'all show up anyway, so we appreciate that and love that y'all understand because we got kids and everything and life. But we're here nonetheless. And of course, this is a live show. So even though we have our topics, you all are more than welcome to ask us questions.
Yeah. As always.
So hold on. I want to,
Uh-huh.
because we're pulling up. No, I'm just saying I was wanting to pull up the question real quick.
Okay.
Because it is a question for tonight. Getting settled on in real quick. And so Instagram, as always, if y'all want to see the question, you're welcome to join us on YouTube. But either way, you're where you're supposed to be, and we'll keep you right along as we go. All right, hold on. Why did it come up like that? Oh, there we go. It was the end of the question. All right. So let's pull this on up. The question that sparked this wonderful topic for tonight said, subject, a little worried about married life after you say I do. I don't know if it's just me or what, but I have seen a lot of people who everything is fine before marriage, and then as soon as they get married, things don't work out as well. They don't work out, and they're arguing or starting to dislike the other person. Why is it like that? Any thoughts or explanations? I'm supposed to be getting married soon, and it makes me scared that so many marriages fail these days. I love my man, and he loves me back. Everything is going great with us. I'm just worried because I just don't get how people marry someone they love, and then things suddenly get horrible enough to get a divorce right after.
Okay. That's the easy one. I can think of 2 things. How you want to approach this? You just want to go through the tips and topics, or
Now take it away.
Okay,
Have
yeah.
fun.
So I can 2 things that come to mind. One is they say they love each other, so the intention for marriage is there, and I'll tell you how this can fall apart. And number one, not setting boundaries. You get married out of the feelings, the joys, all the other stuff that you that brings you, the attractiveness to that person and all of that stuff, but you forget to have deep conversation about setting boundaries and what those boundaries are in your relationship and particularly marriage. So that's one reason why marriages fail, because those boundaries are not set up in the beginning. Understanding your roles in the relationship, who's doing what, you have to lay all of that out. Marriage is a work in progress. So how you are supposed to make it through your relationship without setting boundaries? Are you allowed to go out on the weekends? Is it okay for you to hang out with your friends and buddies and all that stuff? Set those boundaries. If your spouse is saying no, I don't want you to do things like that, and you want to, then maybe you can't compromise. You can't compromise on that thing. Try to get somebody to help y'all mediate it out, and if it doesn't work, then you can't get married because you all are too stubborn. And another reason why is because that feeling of that honeymoon phase is gone, and so your blinders are off. So that was those are the 2 things that I wanted to say. You told me I could.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect start because the honeymoon phase is over. That's usually the main, when we often talk about, because that is, for those who aren't aware, the honeymoon phase is that period of time in a new relationship where, everything is just new and exciting and all the chemicals in your brain and your heart are just flowing and pumping. And this can last, studies have shown, up to 2 years. So if someone happens to get married really fast, and then the honeymoon phase is over, well, as that, honeymoon feelings start to dwindle off, this makes it a difficult adjustment for couples.
Right. And that's when all the complaining start.
Yeah.
Oh, you're too fat. You're too bald. You're too old. You're nagging me too much and all that stuff. That's when all of that starts.
Yeah, because they start to see each other's flaws.
Mhm.
But in that moment in time, you're not, that's where the work comes in, because it's like people love the joys and the highs of marriage, but as soon as it gets a little hard and you actually got to put in some compromise, some communication,
Right.
all of those things that require you to be mature. I think immaturity is a huge factor in it as well, because if you're immature, you're not going to be willing, like you were saying, to want to even do that, or do any of the things that requires
Right.
marriage.
Yeah, but you should see that's a red flag if you're marrying or dating somebody who's immature. Why would you pursue that relationship? That makes no sense.
Yeah, I think it can show up in different ways, because when you take the whole concept of marriage and in the mind of a person who's getting married, you have like this legal and social commitment to each other. It's really a game changer, because in that moment of time, it gives you two options. One, not two options, but it gives you two things that can occur. One, you get the security, the sense of security and the love and the knowing that, your spouse took vows to be with you no matter what. But then on the flip side, this can also make people really complacent, and they will start to get comfortable in the relationship and not want to do, they may take their spouse for granted and not want to do the work that is required to, make a marriage work. And that also is a lack of maturity.
Right.
Because you're not quite, you get complacent and you don't want to put in that effort that is really required, and especially to be mature with.
That reminds me of selfishness.
Mhm.
So it starts to come off as selfishness.
Yeah.
Behavior, and that's a red flag, and that needs to be addressed.
Oh yeah,
most definitely.
Certainly. Another thing I kind of also think about in particular when people immediately get married is the concept of like trying to, and you no longer have to impress your spouse. So you're like kind of relaxed and you're able to be yourself, which is the great part of finding that one for you, right? But also at the same time, kind of that contributes to you not wanting to do the work and maybe just quitting, is because if you get comfortable, you may feel less motivated or wanting to grow. And if you aren't willing to grow in a marriage or in a relationship, period, then, even when it's not best for you or it's not best for your relationship, it would fail because you're not willing to put in that effort and actually grow with it and mature with it and do those things. So that was just what I was saying about the whole maturity thing. Like, and it can really show up, when life presents different scenarios. And one in particular, and one in particular is signing a document, signing that just immediately, you have been immersed into what should be a great experience of security and commitment and, happiness and bliss. But, with every high, there's the opposite low. So that's just kind of how that goes, I think. But what do you think?
Getting married, it shouldn't be an emotional decision. I think for the past, I would say, what was this, 2023? I guess the past 5 years, I think people starting to understand that marriage should not be an emotional decision.
Right.
Something that I always thought of marriage as a business decision. You're sharing finances. You're doing
negotiating.
Exactly. You're sharing assets
and signing documents.
Right. It's more business in marriage than it is. There's emotional things that go along with it, but I think whether that person is a liability or an asset to your life, overall, that has to do a lot with business.
Mm-hmm.
And, in a divorce, there's a lot of business that goes into a divorce. Whether you're going to have to split finances, whether you had a contractual agreement not to do certain things, and what the penalties are for those and whatnot, which is a prenuptial agreement or postnuptial agreement. Mm-hmm. Marriage is a business, whether people like to admit it or not. You might get those people that, may argue that it's not. It's I don't know. It's a bond between two married people, and it's not business involved at all. Yes, I believe it is.
Yeah, especially if you go the state route of bringing in that extra layer of accountability. because that's really what offering the state is. I always think of marriage first as the union that God, the institution that was created by God for the man and the woman to come together and have greater dominion. I believe first that, and then of course, the commitment to marriage. You have to be committed to marriage, like that institution first, even before like the spouse comes in a way. I think that's more so what people mean by, oh, you were a wife before you got married, or you were a husband before you got married. It is your mindset,
your
commitment, is all of that there before marriage that will actually, and then actually having that, agreement in your mind between you and God and all that, with your disciplines and values and stuff. All of that plays a huge part too. But you want to dig on in? What do you think? You have anything else for this letter? We can dig on into our top 7 marriage. It could be a regular relationship too. Killers, destroyers, things that will certainly bring problems within.
Yeah. And that's it.
Yeah.
It's over with.
Commonly with people who quickly get married.
Let's look at this list. So we're going with number 1.
Okay, hold on. Let me close the question real quick, because I think this is a great question, but we kind of tackled it enough.
Do we have any comments yet?
Let me see. Oh, yeah. Nope, not yet. Hey, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Thank y'all for joining. Let's go ahead on back. We see Full House. Thank y'all for joining on in. We're going to go ahead and get into these relationship killers and how to avoid them, because this might help you not get quickly divorced. Like this lady was saying. Right. I haven't seen that too much. I don't know if I've seen that too much though, like immediately after marriage. Well, I know a couple people, so I guess if that is,
they have gotten divorced.
So a couple people is too many. Yeah, okay. Yeah, immediately after getting married, I have seen that a couple.
You mean like an annulment or something?
Yeah. Well, one was like that, and then one was like maybe 3-4 months after, which is weird. But I get what they're, these are some of the reasons why this would happen. So
I know some people that need to get a divorce.
Oh, great.
But we're not here for that.
No. We encourage, this is why we do what we do. Truth be told, this is really why. Because if a lot of this knowledge was more so talked about and out there in the open, and people having an understanding of what it takes to make a marriage last a lifetime, having the commitment, what really goes on, so it's no like gray area, no confusion. People should know, like, and then on top of it, have the resources, have the skills, the tools, the abilities to actually fight through, or like we call within our wife, like our wife economics course, we call them troubleshooting problems. So like a computer program, you're troubleshooting your programming of your marriage and stuff so that you can reprogram it if it needs to be, but work through your issues. So that's why we do what we do, because I hate that, the divorce numbers, the divorce rates. But realistically, if anything, the divorce rates is a clear indication of there needing to be more solutions provided in a way that a person is able to then work through first, before getting married, the things you need to do to make sure that this person is for you, having established all of that. And then after you're married, how to make it last, right. Having that support. Because in the Western community, we don't have that. Like in other cultures where they're arranged marriages, like for example, India, their arranged marriages is like 90%, of course, of the culture that it is. But in that culture, what makes it successful is the support. After marriage.
Something that I didn't think about with that arranged marriage thing is also too in India. What is the average income in India?
Well, yeah, that would be different. What do you mean for like? Well, you would have to find out like the country's whole, because even their income wouldn't compare to like ours. Like you would have to find out their dollar, the value of their dollar, and
because economics and the economy has a lot to do with marriage.
Oh yeah. And the lack of jobs. I read an article maybe 3 months ago. It's been a while, but it was saying how within India, their arranged marriages rates are going down because the men aren't able to find jobs, good jobs that are paying to be able to help them support a family.
They don't make a lot. This is it. The average Indian salary is anywhere between $98 to $1,734 a month. Wow. So
now what's their cost of living though?
I mean, it's probably low. It got to be low if that's their average. And a lot of the stuff they do is they hand make a lot of things.
Yeah, and they're probably more community based too. I would think like family. You know how families live together with the
So,
what's that family type
you know,
called? Nuclear family
right.
structures.
You
Yeah.
know, and it seems as if like what no United States leads the world in divorce rates.
Hmm.
I mean, I can foresee, and I say that to say this, I can foresee that in the future because of this economy and um how challenging it is for people to actually make money and to live comfortably. I can foresee more people getting married back again. I think that
Yeah,
pendulum is going
me
to
too.
swing back
To
towards
survive.
to marriage. Yes,
Hmm.
marriage is going to become a survival mechanism, and more people are going to find the benefit of actually being married and staying married, just like back in the 40s and 30s,
Yeah,
back in those days
I read an article
and
on that.
20s,
Yeah, recently.
because it's going everyone is going to realize how hard it is in this economy in order to survive off of a single person income.
Yeah, especially retirement
Right.
wise.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're
Hmm.
in this day and age, retirement, they're trying to get retirees back into the workforce. I've
Yeah.
never heard of anything like that before. I mean, and then
Yeah.
recently we saw France increase their retirement age.
Hmm.
Here in the United States, from what I understand, and I work and I understand, I heard, through the grapevine that
You
they're
work in retirement services. Give
right,
yourself that credit.
that they're trying to um, the governments, state governments are trying to incentivize retirees coming back to the workforce, which is sad.
Yeah.
They're trying to fill these voids and shortages, allowing them to fast track into becoming teachers.
Yeah.
If anything, at the least being teachers, but also trying to get them back in the workforce.
Yeah, because they were baby boomers, if I'm not mistaken. That's the largest generation that retired.
But the
Yeah.
problem is too is that we're not making babies.
Yeah.
I think in the United States, the average woman has like the average is 1.25 baby in the United
A
States.
quarter, baby.
Yeah. Well, you got to average it out because
Yeah. Yeah.
so that's sad.
Yeah.
That means the United States now has a declining population, pretty much per
Yeah.
person. Because men, we can't have children on our own. In order to multiply, you're supposed to have how many children? 4. Because
Yeah.
two people,
Yeah.
2 times 2 is 4, right?
Yeah.
Well, 2 people multiplies 4. So, because you only it's not a multiplication if you just have 2 children. 1, yeah, because 1 times 1 is 1.
Mhm.
I was told that
Okay.
2 times 2.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
so that's how you're supposed to multiply is have 4 children.
Yeah.
And
That's interesting.
and if the economy gets bad enough, then people are going to have to learn to farm and grow your own crops and garden, and they may make that a business, selling fruits and vegetables like back in the day. But hopefully, this economy can rebound. But these high interest rates and these astronomical housing prices with not a lot of housing available is pretty hard on people,
Families too.
Yeah, or on single people.
Oh yeah.
I'm starting to see women in their 30s sleeping on sidewalks and on my way to work. That was the first time this week I've ever seen a lady was on the sidewalk with books and a blanket and jugs of water, and she would look too young to be homeless out there. I was just amazed. I couldn't believe it because usually I see a lot of older people homeless on my way to work, but this time it was just a young female, and evidently she could not pay her rent, so she ended up homeless. And then God forbid, once these college kids have to pay their student loans come October 1st, what is going to happen with those people who substituted their mortgage payments, their college loan payments for mortgage payments? So it's getting real out here, y'all.
And if you can have a relationship, a spouse, a partner, it will certainly make your life easier. The right partner, of course. We always advocate for that. That's why we help. We wouldn't tell you to get married and not offer no help because we understand.
Right.
We truly do. We understand and we're sympathetic to that. But in this economy, I think I agree now more than ever, it's going to be necessary to pair bond, to come together so that y'all can
then I heard that they're trying to reduce Social Security payments by $17,000, $17,200. they're going to take that away each year from retirees.
Yeah.
So
Force
eventually,
them back into the workforce because you're gonna
right,
have to work.
exactly,
Yeah.
it's going to force them back into the workforce, so they can't have their retirement payments that they normally. Well, their retirement monthly payments are going to be reduced, drastically reduced, and then make them go back to work, and what have you. And so I say that to say this is that um, it's easier to save that money or be resourceful with someone else, a wife, your husband, and you all plan to try to build some sort of savings or retirement funds, and and protect each other and provide for each other, especially in your older years. Because if you got, it always helps to have that comfort of knowing that someone has your back in your older years.
And you can split costs.
Right. Because look, y'all, I mean, be honest, like inflation has increasingly gotten worse, and it says exponentially it has gotten worse in the past 3 years, and without it coming down, it's very hard for anyone to actually save money, because by the time you retire, that money is being used up because of inflation. So money is not worth where is worth, of course, anything it used to be by the time you start working and at the end of your career.
Yeah.
So that's something that we all have to take it, be honest about, and just realize that, working together in a relationship is better as far as building wealth and the benefit of having tax benefits and all of that, if anything. So it's a very important way to a very important survival mechanism now in this day and age.
Yep. Somebody said, I saw a 23-year-old looking homeless female outside of Papa John's. I gave her a slice of pizza.
Yes.
Peace Pulse Plus Ultra be tuning in.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I've never really seen I've seen homeless young homeless people before, but not this often in my lifetime. And
it's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. It's becoming more and more common now these times. It's sad. But
another comment, hold on. I've seen a huge wedding, then divorce 1 month later after his wife did something to the car. Well, let's get on. That brings us right on back to our topic of what are those 7 big old marriage killers. So things that you have to really watch out for and prepare for.
Yeah. So number 1, and these aren't ranked in any way of severity, right?
Nah, I don't think so. Okay. But these are pretty much going to be the top 7 reasons. We can't be here all night, so I couldn't give you like too many and still be able to have the time to give you some solutions at the end. So we tackled the top 7, but there are certainly more problems that can occur after a marriage that will cause a breakdown. Well, I think we talked about the first one, not the first one, but just the lack of motivation. You just have to have that motivation in order to really be able to make it through a marriage, because it's a long-term commitment to each other. So when things get tough, I think one of the biggest identifying factors of whether or not the marriage is going to work is a person's ability to self-motivate and want to work through times when it goes, when it's hard. Because there will be times where you just can't stand your spouse, I guess. And, when you're fighting or whatever, and you have to self-motivate, you have to keep yourself, committed, even when it's hard. So, yeah, let's get on in.
Yeah, number 1, unrealistic expectations. Many couples have many people have unrealistic expectations about marriage. They may expect that their relationship will be perfect and that they will never argue or disagree. When these expectations are not met, it can lead to disappointment and frustration.
Yeah.
So that, I believe that, yes, unrealistic expectations.
Yeah, especially after that honeymoon phase wears off.
Yes.
Yeah, and especially if you haven't talked about it. Of course, that's the number 1 way to avoid unrealistic expectations. You got to talk about it.
Right.
First, right off back. The earlier, the better.
Well, I mean, that goes with setting those boundaries too.
Mm-hmm.
No, honey, I can't, build you a mansion, or, no, I can't buy you a Rolls Royce, or whatever the case may be. So, you got to have those, you got to make sure those unrealistic expectations are checked before marriage, please.
Yeah, and always remember that marriage is a team and it's going to take work from both people. So those unrealistic expectations, in order to really avoid that, you have to be, realistic about not only what you expect from your spouse, but, the times, what you're going through in life. There will be in a marriage changes and roles and responsibilities as life goes on, especially if, sickness or other things come into play. You never really know what life may bring, but all of that is a big adjustment that you really have to be committed to making and being okay with, working through those expectations.
All right. You have to be realistic about what you can expect from your spouse. Talk about your expectations early, like I've been saying in the relationship. Talk about those early. Be specific about your expectations. Don't just say, I expect you to be more supportive. Instead, say something like, I would like you to listen to me when I'm feeling stressed and offer me practical help. But you also have to be willing to compromise as well with these expectations.
Being specific,
Yeah.
like if you want your wife to cook, let her know ahead of time, so she could be prepared for the roles you want her to take on.
Yes.
Like if you want him to be the provider and for your whole family, if that's what you all agreed on, okay, look at where you're at now and then come up with a plan together on how you're going to make that happen, working together as a team, and also be specific on that plan. You really got to put things into detailed words. Don't just vaguely say, love me.
Yeah, exactly. And when they say love don't pay the bills, right?
Right. Yep.
All right. So the next one is lack of communication. So when couples are unable to communicate effectively, it can lead to resentment, frustration, and ultimately divorce. If you're struggling to communicate with your spouse, there are resources available to help you. You can schedule a consultation with us, of course.
Yeah, because you certainly want to be able to improve your communication during, before you get married, during your marriage if you need it, all that time, actively working on strategies. And that's what a third party can bring into, especially if you don't know what that looks like, if you're having a hard time.
And then also too, a third party or some sort of mediator can also help you to help each other to see each other's faults and also confirm things that may be true in your relationship that your spouse is saying, even if you don't want to admit it. So oftentimes, if you are in a standstill in a relationship and you're stubborn, you have to get some sort of mediator in order to help provide clarity to the situation, to make things better so that your spouse can be honest about the situation and see that there are changes that need to be made. So,
yep. We always talk, though, in general about communication very often on our channel. There's so many videos on this, and we will probably make so many more because this is the number one thing that is super important within any relationship, but most importantly, marriage. So you have to be willing to listen to each other, genuinely listening to each other to understand each other, being honest, being direct with your communication, especially when it comes to boundaries, when it comes to, your expectations and all that other stuff. But you have to really be direct. I know we say that a lot, but a lot of the problems, I truly believe, is because people are not direct enough. And even hypothetically speaking, you have to be direct when you're trying to figure out, well, hey, if this happens, what will we do, or that, just being able to be prepared for any situation that may arise. You got to be prepared. Life is unexpected sometimes. Let me think. Yeah, that's pretty. Again, we have so many videos on communication, but always, again, being willing to compromise, avoiding those, insults, blaming, the generalizations, all that stuff that we always talk about. Of course, abuse, don't be abusive. I think that's why I always like to try to bring in, like kind of yesterday we talked about negging, which is something that's not really, talked about, but it just offered another opportunity to hit on communication and how to have healthy communication within a marriage. That is so important, how to have that respect, that love in what you say to each other and how you can speak life to each other, or, speak bad things, and that's what you'll get.
And also too, so the next one is real life stressors. So once you're married, you're faced with a new set of stressors, such as financial problems, your in-laws, and raising children.
Yeah.
These stressors can put a strain on your relationship if you're not prepared for them.
Yeah, and I think that's certainly what maybe this the lady that wrote in, like that's what she maybe be witnessing, like life happen to people. Sometimes that,
Yeah,
it
especially children.
happens. Yeah.
Children, especially if you all are single children yourself, and then you both get married, and then you have children. Make sure that you talk to someone with a happily married couple with children. Ask them all the questions about, what did you all do when they got older and you all couldn't find time to alone, or what did you all do to stop arguing in front of the children, or ask them all the questions, because life doesn't come with a manual or a book, but now it comes with a blueprint, and that's what we're laying down here at Blueprint Family Jewels. So no, I mean, I'm just being real with you. Those are things that especially young people who are getting married, they need to know all of this information, and often at times they won't ask. So often, parents out there, if your children are about to get married, give them the game of marriage. Let them know about their roles and what they're doing, and how conflicts will arise, and how to handle these conflicts, and keep that open line of communication and support
Yeah.
and love for them, and help them to not get any divorces, but to also help them through their hard times. Let them know that you're there for them, just like any other time when they were younger. So
yeah, I think that's so true, because a lot of the problem, I think, with maybe our generation, millennials, and then the younger generations, is that impact of the silent generation,
right,
where our parents and maybe their parents just did not communicate these things.
Right. Or either they were just trying to find it out too. I mean, a lot of our parents were just trying to find this stuff out, and they failed at it, to be honest with you, because their relationships ended up in divorce or what have you, or either they didn't even try relationships because they just, were let down so many times, or whatnot. But that's the reason why it's important to find somebody who is happily married and ask them all those hard questions.
Yeah, you gotta be marriage fit.
Yep,
like
exactly.
we talk about. That's really important, because it's a marathon, and you need to know what you're getting into and how you can prepare for it. You don't just expect to wake up and run a marathon.
I like that. Yeah, you prepare for marriage like a marathon, because your marriage is a marathon. So if if the night before your marathon you was binge drinking and eating potato chips all night, he ain't gonna get far in that marathon. I guarantee you. So treat your marriage the same way, with care, treat it with intention, treat it with preparation and respect in the beginning, early,
and commitment,
open lines of communication, all of that,
and support. You need support to run a marathon too. You need somebody there to hand you that water when you, or whatever.
Yeah, a lot of people get coaches.
Yeah, yeah, you do. So it's the same concept. It really is. So. Yeah. When we talk about real life stressors, money is, of course, a major stressor in marriage. And in fact, one of the biggest contributing factors to divorces. I'm sure we all are aware of that. So if couples are unable to manage their finances together, then it will definitely lead to conflict and divorce. So money is something you really have to work out before you get married. Check each other's credit, talk to a financial advisor, a counselor, do the things that you need to do, read the books, watch videos, get a prenup, right? All of these things have to be done so that you all are prepared, and you know what you're getting into, and are willing to, create a budget and stick to it so that you can effectively complete your goals, that you want to do in your life. So you got to communicate openly and honest about finances really early, and be willing to compromise on spending and all of that other good stuff. Just money isn't everything. That is certainly, especially when it comes to the things that are really of value, but money is certainly something that you need to raise a family and have a healthy relationship,
right. And then also to strategize with money. If you want to invest, talk about ways that you all can invest your money. Career wise, Figure out ways to advance in your career together. Talk to each other about things that you will want to do as far as your careers, and just put those thoughts in motion.
And after kids, I always think of that. People all kind of skip that part. After kids, is your career going to be the same after kids? What is that going to look like? Don't make financial. That is one of the biggest things I see a lot of young couples do. They make financial decisions on a 2-person income or something like that, when that's not what they want starting, later on, like having kids or whatever. So they'll buy a house, for example, on that 2-person income. But the woman in her mind is like, well, after I had kids, I don't want to, work. Right. So then now the man, unless you have actively, like you said, help prepare the man to be in that to be making that 2-person income.
Yeah, talk about that. I saw that video.
Don't go doing that stuff.
Yeah, I saw that video with the wife. She quit her job, and she just told her husband, I don't want to work no more. And then he was like, what do you mean? Who paying the bill? They go half on the bills. And then she said she don't want to work no more. And then you set him up to make that 2-person income, and then quit your job.
Right.
Because she's risking the fact that they're gonna be homeless.
Right.
Now she's supposed to have saved. She saved her private account of money. He found out too. On top of that, so she was stashing money away, not telling him about it. But
gotta communicate.
You gotta communicate and strategize together. I mean, if that's her goal, to be a housewife and take care of the children, then put the plan in action in order to do so,
and do that before the kids. Right, please do that before the kids.
or either after the kids, and you realize that, hey, you know what, I need to be here with my kids because these school systems are crazy and my kids are acting up, or what have you, or whatever reason. You just need to go ahead and talk to your husband. It's not going to be immediate. This is something you're going to have to plan it out. Say, give it 2 years. Give it 2 years, and I'm going to put some applications in for my husband and see if we can advance his career so he can supplement my loss of income, or whatever the case may be, or either do something at home to be resourceful, sell products. I don't know, get into that Amazon market share situation or whatever, do something. I don't know. Right.
I actually saw a video yesterday of this woman. She was a homeschooler and stuff like that, but she didn't start that way because her kids was in school. But when the pandemic hit, she had to leave her job and, start working from home and homeschooling and stuff like that. Right. So she, now more than ever, she was like, although it was a crisis and devastating, it opened her mind up to the endless opportunities of how you can now more than ever make money at home. It's so it's really to the advantage of the family if the woman is able to, teach the children, especially with our schools the way it is. I love if a child is able to be impacted by the own parents, taught by the own parents and not just given off to somebody else. And actually within this financial situation that we have now, a lot of the times the woman's income would really just go to daycare anyway. So it's like, essentially you're just going to work to pay for somebody else to watch your kids.
Yep.
It doesn't make much sense. Not to mention daycare was actually meant to be a last resort. Daycare was not meant to be something that all kids got immersed into, just because of the mental implications that go along with putting an infant into daycare. Yeah.
Infants get stressed out because mama not there.
Yeah. Let me see. What's up? Plus Ultra said, if I could do it all again, I would have done everything in my power to start investing towards 100K at 18 to have been there before 30. Right?
Yep.
Right.
That's true.
I always think about that, the money that money
then,
you made, right?
And back then, 100K back then probably was a lot more than what it is today.
Right. Yes. Instead of buying Jordans, you invested in the stock.
Right. Invested in the stock.
Right.
Of Nike stock back in the 90s.
What?
Buy gold in the 90s when it was $500 an ounce or something.
Yeah.
Or when silver was $5 an ounce. It was something, so low.
Yeah, the financial literacy has to increase within our communities, and that certainly has to be something that's just passed down. Not just when we talk about generational wealth really does involve way more than just money. It's not just, just the handing off resources so your kids
the knowledge to make money as well.
Yes, but that's, to me, I feel like most important. If you can pass along that financial literacy so your kids are now able to benefit from, like you said, that lesson of learning, how I could have spent my money a little different, then we've actually bettered our community and really given them that benefit of being able to know these things ahead of time and not make the silly mistakes that we did just buying whatever, or getting into a relationship and trying to spend a 2-person income when you really are looking to have a 1-person income and build and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I always think about that because people be saying that, oh, they went and brought a house on a 2-person income all along, wanted to stay home. What did you need? Hold on.
No, I just wanted to see what that was. I saw it.
Oh, okay.
All right.
So let's head on down. Now we are on
number 4.
Number 4.
Infidelity, of course.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, what Plus Ultra said, I'm still buying Jordans for the kids, though.
Look, quality shoes. Hopefully, you ain't got to keep buying shoes.
I mean, but the thing is this: with those Jordans, you do buy them. They can still be an investment in the future
for resale value.
Mm-hmm. Take care of them,
right?
Because this resale culture is crazy when they come to shoes. I mean, people buy old Jordans and fix them up and resell them for the same price they bought them, darn near. But just keep them.
And take care of them. Yeah.
They're like baseball cards that you wear on your feet. No, I'm serious. They're like baseball cards.
Some people don't even wear their shoes, or they'll buy them and just shrink wrap them and put them up, maybe wear them once.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I got a pair.
That's a true collector. Yeah. That was what you look at though, like a collector.
I mean, especially if you was born through the 90s, you grew up through the 90s, you always want a pair of Jordans that you could not have, and then you start buying this stuff, especially when you can afford them while you're an adult. So, just being responsible with it. But if you have them since the 90s, I would encourage you, especially if you don't want them, to sell them to somebody.
Yeah.
Take that money and then invest it.
Yeah.
Some sort of way.
Yeah.
Before people not want them anymore because they need to eat or some other reason why they can't buy them anymore. But anyways, back on topic. So infidelity. So infidelity, of course, is another one. This is the most common reason one of the most common reasons for divorce, not the most common.
Yeah, I think we hit the most common, and we didn't even say it. I'm sorry to cut you off, but irreconcilable differences. Communication, I think that would go hand in hand.
Yeah, I guess, but irreconcilable differences is also too, I'm tired of you and I just want out of this relationship.
That's lack of communication.
No,
in my mind, that's
Yeah, in your mind it is, but in my mind is, the woman like, you know what, I'm just, honeymoon phase over, I'm done with this relationship. The thrill of the chase is over. I'm checked out. I want to try something new.
That's a form of avoidant, though. It's a communication style that's avoidant.
I guess, or infidelity.
Right.
Or wanting to commit infidelity.
Yeah.
So this is one of the most common reasons for divorce. It's in the top 3. So if you are considering cheating on your spouse, please think twice. Please think 3 times and 4.
Yeah.
It is not worth risking your marriage over lust. So if you are unhappy in your marriage, you need to talk about it, counsel it, have a third party evaluate it, talk about it. There are other ways to address this issue. Talk to your spouse, seek counseling, or even I don't believe in taking breaks in the relationship, but you need to actually do something before you all break up.
Yeah.
But don't cheat.
Right.
Cheating is a sign of weakness. Real men don't cheat. They don't.
Women do, because the
real women don't cheat because it's about the same.
Too.
Women and men cheat on each other about the same rate. So men don't cheat more than women. They don't.
Nah, yeah.
Women don't cheat no more than men. So, but immature people cheat on each other. I'll say that.
Lack of discipline.
Not
being able to control those animal instincts. We talked about that before, how people often say, oh, well, man isn't able to control that.
No, an animal is not able to control
exactly.
themselves.
Men, you are much more than your animal instincts, and the same thing applies for women. We are much more than our animal instincts. In fact, that is what lifts us above the animal kingdom and make us human. We have those higher faculties to control ourselves and have discipline and ethics and morals and consciousness. So it's really not that, I think one thing that will go hand in hand with this that we may have to add on in here is the whole sexless marriage aspect of things, and how important that is. It's like how important it is.
Deal breaker.
Yeah. And because that is actually why I would see, infidelity being the being able to creep on up in there.
Mhm.
So if y'all can avoid getting into that sexless marriage part, certainly
That
make
needs to be
time for each other.
that needs to be
Yeah,
talked about. I
those
mean,
expectations.
yeah, it ain't about making time for each other. It's something else going on as far as attractiveness, mental. It's some sort of mental issue, the lack of intention or
Health problems sometimes
yeah,
too,
health
but those are
problems.
the more extreme ones. But
Right. But a lot of times in those sexless marriages, if there wasn't infidelity involved, it was more so other reasons why those people got married, that the intention really wasn't there for the other person. Maybe it was the woman wanted just these financial security of being married to this person, not really attracted to him, never was, but they just wanted financial security. And often that's very that's a horrible reason to get married.
Yeah.
And then the man was not aware of these red flags and got married to a woman that didn't really love him. So
like those green card marriages or stuff like that, like
or either
that
like
can
a
happen to
sugar
the woman
daddy,
too.
sugar baby situation. But often the times the benefit, I mean, those sugar daddies be simping and they marry these women. But I mean, there's a benefit there. I mean, I guess they want somebody to drive them around in their nice car, and if they can make it make sense to them, it is what it is. So, they're still married, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, the choice is yours. I mean, if you're happy in your sexless marriage, then so be it. But if
I don't
not, then you
encourage
need to get some sort of counseling and talk about it. Talk about the issue, because one thing I don't like is when people waste each other's time. In the relationship, and that sunken cost fallacy type stuff go on. I've invested all this money in this woman, and I don't want to get a divorce with her because of the fact that I've spent all this money on her and she's not acting right, so I'm just going to stay with her anyway. No. Or vice versa, the woman poured into this man so much and he ain't acting right and he's doing all this stuff that he's not supposed to be doing, but I need to stay with him because he's all I got. That type of stuff. No. You don't let someone abuse you just for you wanting to not lose an investment
or neglect you. I think that is neglect as well, because within a marriage you're supposed to have sex. That is, to me, what God actually meant by a man knowing his wife and his wife knowing him. It's that connection that you all share that no one else should be involved in. You all know that experience for each other, and then that is something that is one of a kind. So that to me is super important. It should be valued. It should be treated as such. Please be honest and faithful to your spouse, but don't let it get to this. I think infidelity is certainly preventable. So making sure you're communicating openly and honest with each other about your needs and desires.
And if you got a good spouse and you out here inviting infidelity by flirting with other people on your job or whatever the case may be, you really need some help, especially if you got somebody good in this day and age. That's very rare. It's hard to find a good spouse now these times, from what I've understand and what I've experienced and what people have told me. And it's very rare. So it's it's more than just 50-50 trying to find somebody, going outside, and often at times it may take the 20th person that you actually come across, maybe the person that's right for you. So don't squander all of that because you wanted to flirt with somebody at your job and you're lusting after this person. You need to have some sort of self-control and put all of that aside and understand the risks. Is not great at all if you try to go and do something like that. That's important. That's one of the reasons to have a prenuptial agreement. So that you also know the penalty for stepping out on your relationship if you do so. And you always have that in the back of your mind, like, oh no, I'm not going to do this because I don't want to lose not only my family, my wife, also I'm gonna lose 2/3 of what I got. So don't do it.
Yeah, that's true. But certainly also, if you are feeling tempted because maybe your husband either your husband or your wife are not satisfying you the way you need to be, please bring in some help to talk about this, because you have to really talk about this. It's not something that can be neglected. We talk about within our Wife Economics. No, and it certainly won't. We talk about this within the Wife Economics course, how 1 week 3 weeks, 1 month, 2 months, how each scientifically the studies that have been done on couples when they wait this long, how it builds to ultimately ending in divorce, because the connection just dwindles and it dies down. Like, it's something you are not going to be able to really sustain. So please get help, and don't just settle for cheating. Please just get help. Truth be told. Yeah. But anyways,
Well,
unresolved. Oh,
You
what?
got a good point. Plus ultra, yep, that's true. And
Yeah.
yes, STDs.
Not to
You could be
mention,
making a
yeah.
fatal mistake. You just sleep with some random person, and that's it. Your life is over. I don't think people really think that. With all, especially with the, I don't know if y'all know about it in like Georgia, and the rise of syphilis that's going on down there.
Yeah. Hopefully
and-
y'all heard about it.
And then, and a lot of people on these dating apps who are just having casual relationships, casual intercourse with people all over the place. You really need to consider that.
And Texas too, wasn't it? Like Texas having an issue going on with like their whole,
I think there's like
STDs
AIDS
and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on this. I don't really know.
Yeah,
I
just do
remember
your
some.
research.
Yeah. Thankfully, again, if you're in a good marriage, that's something you ain't got to worry about, because you don't have to like. Plus, Ultra said you ain't got to worry about all them STDs and stuff going on. That's you safe of mind and not
Right.
even have to.
Value your relationship, value yourself, have some
Yeah.
self-respect for yourself, and don't commit these infidelities. Like I was saying, just one infidelity could be life-threatening. You might think it's a joke, might think it's funny, but it could be.
Or you get pregnant. That's,
right. For a woman,
Whew, that, yeah, don't do it. It's not worth it. It really isn't. Number 5, though, unresolved issues from the past. This is one that can really creep in. Yeah. Especially if you ain't worked it through and y'all got married kind of fast, sometimes, and you don't actually take the time to dig into each other's past and understanding, childhood traumas, past relationships. All that stuff will come up.
Can I add also too that you didn't try to get help for your past traumas, or get someone to help you recognize that you have past traumas and try to avoid those problems as well? Because you got those people out there who want to not admit anything that's wrong with them. Oh, I'm good, I'm fine,
I'm healed,
I'm okay. Yeah.
Meanwhile, all their emotions is written on their face.
Like I had a big mama, grandma had diabetes. You can't. Oh, she won't. She wants some sweet or something. Nah, I'm all right. You give her some sugar, some sweet or something. Next thing you know, she need to take a high blood pressure pills or something, salty or something. They don't want to, people don't like to admit that they have problems. They don't. And often at times they like to run from them.
Yeah. And often too, it kind of to piggyback on your part with the diabetes and sugar and salt, those are addictions. So very much too, like food addictions, your brain can get addicted to trauma and the past issues that you've gone through, especially if it was traumatic during childhood. The way the brain is programmed, it will be traumatized to where you can actually yearn for those endorphins of when you're with somebody that gives you that, a rush of abuse. And some, as crazy as it may sound, you can really become addicted to abusive behaviors just because it's what you're used to.
That's what normal feels like.
Yeah.
To those people.
It's what you're used to.
That's not normal at all. So go get help.
Yeah. It isn't. And yeah, it's so true. And if not, it's going to grow. It's going to turn into resentment. It's going to turn into anger. It's going to turn into, unable to control your emotions because you just got so much going on within you that you lash out. You get mad for no reason. It could even, of course, contribute to you having a difficulty trusting your spouse and actually being able to feel close to them. This is a big one, especially if you're in a young marriage and you're still, building up that trust within each other and knowing that, that person is not going to leave you, is going to be there for you, and is going to support you. If you had a traumatic childhood, that can make it really hard to do. You got to be vulnerable when you get married. So, yeah.
Yep. And also too, if you are still holding on to anger or resentment from the past, it can be difficult to communicate openly and honestly with your spouse.
Yeah.
So this can make it difficult to resolve conflict and build a strong relationship.
Yeah, that's especially talking about like
barriers.
Yeah, or if somebody, that trust was broken somehow,
Right.
Yep, those barriers were broken. That certainly won't, it won't help you build a strong relationship. holding on to that resentment, all of that. And then not to mention it's going to make it, you're going to feel isolated. You're going to feel alone. You're not going to feel connected to your spouse and have like someone that's there for you. You're going to feel unfulfilled. This is going to keep going. You're going to have more and more emotions to where you're going to end up, unfortunately, divorced. Like this lady was saying, like, this is how you get to these places with people, because you don't do the work to prepare yourself for marriage.
Right.
It's mind, body, and spirit for yourself, as well as mind, body, and spirit for your marriage. It's going to have a whole nother vessel that you got to prepare and put energy and health and feed it and do all the things you needed to do so that you all can work through life and go through life together.
I just had a thought. It reminds me of those people who say that you're too good for me. I wish we could be together, but you're too good for me. Those people who say that they have like past trauma and they don't believe that love is for them and whatnot. Mm-hmm. That's very sad. And those type of people, they do need help.
Yeah, especially if they maybe were on the other end, like they were the one doing the abusing and stuff like that too. People have to remember that too. People can
hurt people.
Yeah, but people can also grow.
Right,
and then sometimes
they gotta want to though, and they have to take the steps in order to do it.
Yeah.
Because that's one thing. Like if you know you have trauma and you don't work on it, how is that situation going to get better? How is that trauma, going to go away? Mm-hmm. It's not. And it always shows in some other form of fashion in a relationship. It really, whether you're always nagging your spouse, you're clingy, always calling them, got to figure out where they at. You always need to see them. Yeah. Can't trust them. Yeah.
Or even worse, like that, you can't. Secure.
Right. Because that's a good point. Like if you always need to call and check on them, like there's some child or something, that means you don't trust them.
Yeah.
And gotta show up at work. Yeah. You always showing up at work, looking through the window and stuff, trying to make sure he's working, or calling somebody else to call you, so
no way to live.
No, not at all.
And then certainly that's not love and what real genuine love feels like. In a good marriage, you need to have all those good trusting feelings and all that worked out before you get married, please. Because if not, you end up in these situations where you get divorced really fast because just can't trust each other. So work through that, please. Work through those past traumas. Don't be afraid of therapy, but vet your therapist. That's always our disclaimer whenever we say use therapy, because it is certainly can be a great tool, but making sure that it's the right therapist. Have them, especially if you're looking to be married, have your therapist be a married person themselves, happily married person, a happy person in general, sanely happy person. I've heard stories. I mean, you got to be careful. Vet your therapist, truly, genuinely, but don't neglect, doing the work either. So, yeah.
And then also the next one is deferring values. So when couples have different values, it can be difficult to find common ground and build a strong foundation for their marriage. Mm-hmm. Whether you have, that reminds me of like different political views or different religions. If you and your spouse have different values, it is important to talk about them openly before marriage. So try to understand where each other is coming from and find ways to compromise.
That's a hard
and be
one.
Okay with that.
Yeah, political. That's a hard one to have to work through. If you're talking about political or religious things, I would love to connect with a spouse, connect with two spouses that have worked through something like that, and how they did that. Like, what was their recourse for getting through something like that?
I know somebody. Older, well, I don't know the couple, but I had worked with somebody in my past, and they had different political views. They said they just didn't talk about it.
So what, y'all don't go? They would not go to the voting polls together.
No, they'll vote. They'll vote. But you see, the thing about that is that it negates the vote, because if one spouse,
y'all household canceled.
Split. Yeah, it's canceled.
Canceled the vote. It don't matter.
Basically canceled each other out. So hey, you voted. That's your civic duty, of course. By all means, go out and vote. But
I'm so torn with that when we tell people to go out to vote. I feel like you should educate yourself before you go out and vote.
Yeah, most definitely. Don't vote ignorant.
Like, because it's your right. Don't do that. If you don't know anything about what's going on, do not vote. Like, I will say that.
Don't do it off of ignorance.
Yes, Please.
somebody told you to.
Or
Don't
TV,
do
yeah.
it. Yeah, don't do it because I told you to. I
Yeah.
told you to go research, like
Yeah.
my wife said. So
Yeah.
we told you to go research and then vote. And then also too,
Yeah.
to avoid, back on topic. So to avoid differing values in your marriage, talk about your values early on in the relationship. Be honest about what is important to you and be willing to compromise on your values. This is where you set up boundaries. This is what setting up
Yeah.
boundaries look like.
Or not compromise. Be
Right.
willing to. Then that's why it's got to be done before marriage. Because if it's something that you're not willing to
compromise on, it may be
yeah.
a deal breaker before
Yeah.
marriage, so you don't have to go through the whole routine of divorce.
Yeah.
Values are important.
Yes.
Values and
please.
ethics are very important.
Yeah, and you want to be aligned. I think in particular because that's what's going to help you, especially if you're getting married to have children. It's going to help you raise your children on one accord. It's going to be quite an interesting dynamic if your one child's asking you one thing from mommy and then daddy comes tell something else, and then the child is
confused,
split, don't know who to believe or what to say, and then if child goes with one parent, it's going to feel like it's undermining the other parent, and so there's just a
mess.
Yeah. Certainly get those values on one accord.
In order.
Yeah, early. Yeah, please.
And then last but not least, not seeking help.
Yeah.
So when problems in the marriage are not addressed, they can fester and grow into resentment and anger. This can make it difficult to trust your spouse and feel close to them.
Yeah.
So if you are if you're struggling in your marriage, it is important to seek help. A therapist or a counselor can help you to communicate more effectively, resolve conflicts, and build a stronger relationship.
Premarital counseling,
Right.
I think, is super.
It'll get you to
important,
stop
yeah.
trying to argue with each other, trying to fuss and fight at each other, and get you to focus on the issues. When it's hard for you to do that because you are stuck in a competition of trying to win an argument, and that's not the reason why you all have a falling out.
Yeah.
So it's important to do that.
Yeah.
So,
and don't neglect that, or if you really don't just give up, like say, oh, we can't figure this out, so that's it. I think a lot of times within our society, because we didn't talk so much about relationships, it was the whole aspect of, oh, keep that in your house, and don't talk to nobody about it and stuff like that. But in reality, if you need help, you need to seek outside of your house, because the problem's not going to be solved if y'all aren't able to figure it out. If y'all don't have the skills for it, if y'all aren't equipped to figure it out,
it takes time.
There's no shame in that. Yeah, there's no shame.
It takes time to learn to communicate with somebody else other than yourself or your people you normally communicate with. You have to learn, like we always say, reconcile the issue, negotiate. Reconcile an issue, negotiate, and then resolve. So you put that negotiation into action by resolving the problem. So it takes a while to actually practice that and to hold that in your head when it comes to a conflict, because you have to calm down first in order to try that method.
Yeah, and it takes maturity, I think, to really even be able to ask for that help. It takes putting your ego aside. It takes being that bigger person and knowing that, hey, I might not know what to do in this moment for whatever reason. I mean, we all just have to recognize sometimes that there may be contributing factors to why you don't know what to do, especially if you haven't seen it done before. You don't know what that healthy dynamic looks like.
Because how many of us been raised by a two-parent household?
Yeah,
I wasn't. Yeah, and me and my wife are now creating one. What statistics said that over 62% of children raised in
within the Black and brown communities,
raised in single parent households.
Yeah.
No, but of that 80% of them are Black and brown.
No, I think it was 27 or almost 30% of everybody in the United States, including the white, Asian, Indian.
Or what? They're the other.
Yeah, everybody. Out of everybody, it was like 27, 30. I can't really
then that's
remember.
the
I'm gonna have to look that
that's
up.
because the 80% of the Black and brown, and the others are the 20-some percent.
Yeah. But yeah, it's still like a lot. Like it's a whole lot of people. It's it's something we can't neglect to remember as a
Right.
community.
So we
that,
don't
you know,
like I'll to say this, we often at times don't know what healthy communication look like in a relationship.
yeah.
And we carry our whatever communication skills that we have on our daily basis into our relationship with us, thinking that that is enough and in order to carry out a relationship, and it is not.
Yeah.
So don't make that mistake either. So that's why it's important to have someone to help officiate your issues or whatnot. So
Yeah, or keep tuning into us as we dive into issues all the time.
Right.
Or write in, or if you can't schedule consultation, write in.
Right. If you want us to fine tune and hone in on a specific topic in private, then you can schedule a consultation with us.
Yep.
So
yeah, but always remember, marriage is a lifelong commitment, and it should not be taken lightly. I think the people that quickly hop into divorce, they did not take marriage as serious as it is, and that's really unfortunate, because it can be a beautiful, beautiful thing if you are willing to put in the work and do what it takes, and mentally, and particularly to be there mentally to make it work. Because I think much like a marathon, it's mental too. Yeah, right. You have to have that. And be equipped and ready to go.
Yeah. So with that being said, it's late.
It is. Thank you all for hanging on with us. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. What's today? We said Wednesday, right? Oh yeah.
Today's Wednesday.
I keep saying it's a Friday. Not that, but I like not that I don't like doing this. I really do, but I'll be looking forward to sleeping in on the weekends a little bit.
Oh yeah, I do too. Most definitely. Yeah, with that being said, Blueprint family, thank you all for coming out tonight, and you all have a wonderful night. Peace.
See ya. Let me see.